So to give you like a quick background on what we do,
Sure.
so we are a platform which provides a lot of different tools that usually experienced businesses need to run the business. So we
Cool.
have a website builder, which is specifically designed for experienced businesses. We have lots of different themes, which are templates you can pick from, which are, based on what you do, we're doing food, like experiential dining, whether you
Hmm.
are in retreats, whether you're on a festival, we have some configurations you can choose from and basically upload your content and get up and running straight away. Within that, we have integrated booking software and payment processing all included. So when people actually buy something on your website, they don't have to go anywhere like Eventbrite, or they don't have to link out to another platform to actually make the purchase. So
Hmm.
ultimately, we power your whole experience business, which means people stay on your website, they can book their experience, whether it's a festival, whether it's a dining experience, they can book their add-ons, you can collect all the information that you need, and then kind of end-to-end
Hmm.
journey is provided.
And
Does
what
that
would
make
you
sense?
say? Yeah, that makes complete sense. What would you say, like personally speaking, like what would you say kind of like puts Easel above someone who would just like scrap everything together using like Squarespace and like Stripe and like put all those individual pieces of,
Sure.
of tech together?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so traditionally, and a lot of people do that, so that's exactly why we exist, because our kind of backstory. So Ben and Lisa, who founded Easel about 5 years ago, they
Uh-huh.
used to run their own festival and a travel company and many other experiences as well. So traditionally, as you say, you would create a website on a CMS like a WordPress or Squarespace, and then you'd have to figure out how to sell the things. So whether you get a plugin in or use Stripe, whatever it might be, it just creates a disparate journey for your customers. So they land on your website, then you link them out to somewhere else to actually make the booking. So that's number one. It's not necessarily an easy way to sell something, particularly when you're selling something complex like experiential dining or going on a trip for 7 days. As you know,
Uh-huh.
that can be quite complex. You might be selling
Yeah.
different rooms, food included, food not included. So there is a lot of complexity associated with that, which traditional e-commerce tools are really not designed to accommodate for. So, like just to give you an example, in Squarespace, there is a Squarespace commerce plugin, as you know, and it's
Hmm.
really good at selling things. So like if you're selling t-shirts, I mean, to be honest, you got it covered there. But once you start to introduce complexity, like different rooms,
Multi-day
occupancy rate,
tours, like different people.
multi-day, etc., yeah,
Uh-huh.
it becomes really
Okay.
not very straightforward to manage, and the users can sense that. Like your customers will have a lot of
Yeah,
see that
that's
it's not
important.
really,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's very
So
important
that kind
here.
of breaks the journey and affects
Uh-huh.
conversion as well. So
Hmm.
on Easel, what we're really proud of is that our conversion is between 9 and 13% across all the different sites that I work with, and that's very much
Interesting.
achieved by not, breaking that journey. So people land on the website, they get really
Uh-huh.
excited, and then it's very clear for them how to book something,
Yeah,
in the
I got the
process
sense from
doesn't
like
take it
the
away.
from sorry, I got the sense from the website that the the user experience in the back end. I haven't tried out the kind of like the operator side of things, but I got a sense it's going to be really smooth and really sick there. And so, like, what I'm curious, like, who did you build it for when you first started it? Was it like he came from a festival background, right? So he was kind of building, I'm guessing, like what types of festivals was he building for? I just want to get a context of
Mhm.
like what the product's good at and like what
Yeah,
how it came about, you know?
that's
Yeah,
a really good question. So the way we see an experience is that
yeah.
it's complicated. So I think what we tried to build, we initially built for travel and festival businesses, which a lot of the time
Uh,
are the two together. So just to give you an example, like Rise Festival, which is something Ben and Lisa used to run, it's a snow sports festival in the Alps. It lasts 7 days. But when you go there, you actually book your accommodation, transfers everything through Rise. So in effect, it's like a travel experience as well as a festival, right? So a lot of the tooling that we build for that actually accommodates for a bunch of other businesses like travel businesses, tour operators, retreats, because it does accommodate for that complexity. Does that make sense? So through
mhm,
Easol, you can run an event, you can run a travel company with multi-day trips. You can, I mean, and then we have new clients coming on which, do food experiences or anything which basically requires any complexity associated with it.
mhm.
Um, Beyond selling like a ticket or unit. It's usually that's what we're really good at.
Uh-huh. Okay, so like the just repeat what you were saying and tell me where correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to kind of compartmentalize it all together. So basically Easel was built for more like the complex kind of like multi-day experiences or experiences where you need to book accommodations as well in addition to kind of like the experience. And so good for more complex kind of like experience booking, which is different from the kind of like drag and drop tools that you might use on the market. And so basically, because of that, better UX, better consumer journey, and better conversions, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious, like, out of the like out of like I guess like the people that we're working with, is it mostly do we mostly kind of like cater to people on the festival end? Do we work with people on like the guided tours? And I just want to get a like an idea of um how who we work with, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think there's a split between festivals and travel businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So, and within that, there's lots of different types, as you can imagine. Like a travel
Mm.
business could be yoga retreat, or it could be like a
Right.
multi-day tour
Right.
operator.
Yeah.
But
Could be anything.
ultimately, yeah, it could be like events and travel businesses, I would say mainly.
Mm.
And then within that, you could have some very niche things like um, I work with a customer who does wine tastings, right? So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of like that also works because they do it over a couple of days. They provide the wine.
Uh-huh.
They want to sell a bunch of add-ons as when people come. So like it's not as simple as just just book your
Uh-huh.
ticket. So
Uh-huh.
this is kind of the space. I would say that the technology is really flexible. Like we don't know that there might be a type of business out there that we haven't worked with yet. That will be a really good fit still.
Uh-huh.
But hopefully that gives you a good overview.
Yeah, I imagine that that's also probably a part of the value that Easel provides too, is like kind of like the guidance on how to kind of like support the businesses, like the add-ons, like you mentioned, right? Like
Yeah,
maybe,
absolutely.
yeah, maybe the kind of like the wine tour operator, they're not like super businessy, and maybe that's something that like as a company you also support on is like, oh, recommendations on how to improve the business. So I imagine, I don't know,
Yeah,
I'm just thinking
definitely.
that's probably something that happens.
One
Um,
thing, one thing we definitely advise on is if we work with festivals, as an example, it's never super profitable to just sell a festival ticket. If a festival can take ownership of the whole journey, like accommodation, um, any kind of additional trips that can happen, then they suddenly, firstly, provide a much better experience for their customers because it means that they kind of guide people on what they should do when they're somewhere. And secondly, they make a bigger margin on the things that they do sell. So everyone kind of wins. So we definitely try and guide people towards a more like holistic approach to travel and like additional things like think outside of the box of the things you can do. And that's
mhm.
what the platform is good at for accommodating as well. So you can book your accommodation, you can book your transfers, you can book additional massage when you're there. So a couple like just getting them to think slightly differently about services and things. Yeah.
Right, right. Thanks for all this information, by the way. This is probably one of the most informative demos I've been on in my life, where like, the person I'm talking to actually knows everything. Every single question is not like, oh, sorry, let me get back to you on that one, So I'm really grateful for this. That's number one. Number two, I'm curious that because I'm working on we're working on building out like the UX strategy and the branding and how to we're basically building out personas right now before we launch. And I'm curious, like
Hmm.
from your end, what do you see as being the most kind of like the persona with the highest buyer intent? Is it people? So we have three personas we're working with.
Hmm.
Impulsive, kind of like buyers, kind of like impulsive, like, oh, I'm going to scroll on Instagram, I'm going to see this like experiential like cannabis dining tour, I'm going to buy it right now, book right now, right? um
Hmm.
we have people who are planners, the type of people who are like, like, I'm going to Google map everything, I'm going to have a Google sheet, I'm going to like map everything out on a like. And then we have people who are passive, kind of like people who are just like roped in with their friends and they're like, okay, like I'll go, they tagged me into this, so I'll go. So like what kind of like have you seen on your end is like the lion's share of like where any experienced business should target their efforts? I'm curious, like if
Sure.
you see that on your end. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good point. But I think COVID has shifted that quite a lot in terms of behavior. We actually have a trend report specifically on this and consumer behavior I can share with you. But
Uh,
ultimately, and this is very much COVID related for anything that's expensive, so like a trip abroad or festival, destination festival, anything like that. There's two types of customers, people who plan like years ahead
uh-huh.
because it's expensive. Potentially, they might want to spread payments over time. By the way, something that Easel offers as well. So on Easel, you can pay in installments over a period of time, which helps with that.
Hmm.
So there's that type, and then there's last minute people. There's barely anyone in between. The reason probably for that is because things are uncertain still. So, you know, travel travel and experiences have shifted quite a little bit, but that very much depends if travel is involved or not. So, like for example, if you're doing some food experiences locally, it might not affect you as much as it does like a festival in Costa Rica, for example. But that's what we've
Hmm.
seen the biggest shift in. So people either plan a lot more in advance because it's far enough away you think it'll be fine, and then
Hmm.
people who do everything last minute because they know it'll be fine tomorrow.
Hmm.
to go on this
How f-
trip. Like it won't be cancelled. Yeah.
how far in advance has it kind of like shifted to? I'm curious. Like, obviously, it may
Yeah.
be
So
different for like local dining, but like how far? Like I'm just curious. Like because of COVID, how far has it gone to?
yeah. So at
Is it
least a year we've seen, but that
a
relates mainly
year?
to like,
Whoa,
yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
that relates mainly to travel. So anything above
Uh-huh.
like $2,000, right?
Uh-huh.
So for experiences that you might want to try and run, which
Uh-huh.
depending on the price point, people will probably behave differently.
Hmm.
So
That's true.
you probably won't get as much a year in advance planning, right?
Yeah,
Because
hopefully not.
the price point is low enough and there is availability. There's no scarcity. That's, by the way, another thing you should think about, like how to create that scarcity, like fear of missing out, and
Hmm.
things like that. So for things which are widely available, like it's generally good to like make them look scarce at least,
Right.
um, because people get excited by the fact that it's something unique.
Right. And
Um,
like I'm curious. So, out of like the kind of like the I don't know what the word would be for this. Like the more like the kind of like the low volume experiences that you do, like experiences where it's like I don't know wine tasting or something like that, where you might have like five, seven people on a tour, or like you're kind of like your higher ticket value per person, but
mhm.
low amount of time that is spent.
Yeah.
Well, what are you seeing on that end of the spectrum? On that end of the market. I'm curious, like what types of things, because I'd love to learn from them because we're in kind of the same space, right? Where we're spending like not too much time with people, but
Hmm.
you're expecting a great experience and expecting an in-depth experience. They're expecting expertise. They're expecting everything to be perfect, right?
Yeah,
On every level.
exactly.
And it's a crowd that is also expecting a lot in terms of sophistication as well. So it's a demanding crowd.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
curious, like, what can we learn from that market, that space, if you know anything about that space? And
Yeah, I
yeah,
actually have a demo, which let me see if I can share my screen at all on this.
yeah. Thanks
Da-da.
for hopping on to Whereby, by the way. Like,
No problem.
yeah.
Can you see my screen? You should see Edible, which is a demo site that we built
Yes.
actually. Yeah,
Oh, really? This
perfect.
is. Oh, wow. Okay. This is you built this, or Easel built this.
We built this together, like as a company, to
Ah.
just
Okay.
to
Cool.
demo to people who run similar experiences to you or plan to. So this is a supper club. So what you do is you can book yourself into a dinner session or
Mm-hmm.
masterclass or a mocktail, whatever it is that you're looking for within the culinary kind of theme. And
Uh-huh.
then the price point, so this is in pounds because I'm in the UK. We have multi-currency, by the way, on Easel. So you will be able to see everything in Canadian dollars, but people abroad will see it in their own currency and will be able to book in that as well. That's just another
Sharp.
kind of benefit.
Sharp. Nice. Nice.
Um,
Great.
so yeah, for some low value, I'll show you how this is set up. So this is based on our best practices, what we've seen kind of works.
Uh-huh.
And happy to share this with you. So firstly, something which is quite unique. So branding, photography, all these things I'm sure you know are super important to try and make it look exclusive and like high end on whatever kind of market you're looking at, just something a bit more unique than, people find on Airbnb experiences. Let's just put it this way. Um,
Yeah.
so this is around having a secret location, dinner and a show, meet people. You have hosts, you
That
have your
that section's
schedule.
very important for
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
market. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You have like a little schedule, what's included. So, this is just an example, what makes something quite unique and what makes people potentially spend a little bit more. But then
Mm.
also you have things like add-ons. So depending on what you do, you might want to think about like what will people be looking for? Will they want
Hmm.
us to book a cab home? Will they
That's
want
neat.
unlimited refills?
Yeah,
Things like
yeah.
that. So just
Cannabis
within,
dining,
yeah,
definitely you want people to taxi home. And that's handy. That's really handy. Yeah, because
yeah,
you like I mean just even legally you can't
yeah,
and legally and just ethically and everything you don't want people driving home high. So
yeah,
any type
100%.
of cannabis in their system. So that's handy. Okay. Cool.
I'll
Cool.
show you on cannabis. We actually have a cannabis experience. Somebody I work with as well.
Whoa,
I'll
whoa,
show
whoa.
you.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. So this is they are powered by Easel entirely. So yeah, I'll send you this as well to have a look at. But they're doing a really amazing job actually. So
Oh,
they have
it's a full on like excursion or is it just a meal? Okay, these are meals. These are meals.
yeah. So um, I thought that was quite cute. Um, so yeah, they have like a chef cooked meal, hosts and everything. So I think they do a really good job. So what they do here is you have different time options. different
Mm,
shifts, and then they offered to book flights, which is quite interesting, I thought. But yeah, does that
cool.
make sense overall?
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense overall. Do you mind? I know we're running on a short on time. Like, do you mind sending me these links? Are you allowed to
Oh,
share?
absolutely.
Like, would love
Yeah,
to
yeah,
would
I
love
can
to see,
share.
check them out. Yeah.
These are
Okay.
publicly
Cool.
available websites anyway, so I'm happy to share everything that might be helpful. Yep.
Nice. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Like, that's literally what we're trying to do. So, it's like literally the product we're trying to create. So, that's great. Um, so let me see if I had any questions that I prepared, but I was sorry for being late, by the way.
No
Um,
problem.
let's see. Da, 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 da. Admin, sign up. Okay. Yeah, I think that's actually everything. We went through a lot. That's actually everything. I made a small list, but that's we covered everything, which is amazing, because we didn't have too much time anyway. But I'd
No
love
problem.
to set up some time. Yeah, I'd love to set up some time like next week. I'll dwell on it, and then I'll like follow up with you. You
Sure.
follow up with me, and we'll continue the conversation.
Sounds good.
It sounds awesome.
Um, would
Yeah,
like same time next week work for you at all?
yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, that's handy. That's a good
Perfect.
way to look at. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what I'll do, I'll just put that in your calendar and then we can
Okay.
catch up again. Happy to give you like specific overview of the back end as well then, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
I haven't had time to look at today. But yeah, I'll
Uh-huh.
follow up and let me know if you have any questions in the meantime. But I look forward to speaking with you next week.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Mark. Lovely to
Okay.
meet you.